Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about Joe Rogan, and we're going to talk about Matthew Mercer, and we're going to talk about responsibility to get it right. All right, so let's talk about this. All right, so Legends of Vox Machina, huge drop right on Amazon Prime. People are watching it. The only question now is, what are the numbers going to be? Is this going to be the next Game of Thrones? You know, can this help? And there's so much at stake, right? There's the success of Critical Role. There's the success of Dungeons and Dragons, right? There's the success of Amazon Prime, right? All three of them want to move forward. Critical Role, there's this sense that they're not even close to what they can accomplish, you know, as a company, and you know what is the fate of each and every person in there, because they have this major success, but people are like, I think they could do a lot more than what they're doing right now. You know what I mean? And then Dungeons and Dragons, it's really got about probably between 10 and 15 million followers. Why shouldn't that be 150 million? 10 times the amount, right? And a major show that's being watched on a major on a streamer, a successful streamer, could really do that. The other thing is Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime, they want to be Netflix. Right? Everybody wants to be Netflix, right? Now, if you have a property, you want that thing on Netflix, because half the, like, literally, I think it's insane the number they have. It's I think it's like 500 million people have Netflix. It's nuts, right? And so it's bigger than any streamer, any channel. It's bigger than anything but YouTube. Okay. But right now Amazon Prime is a streamer, but they're in that Pinocchio stage. They're like, I'm a real boy, and everybody's like, are you a real streamer? You know, like, you're there, you got a lot of content, but almost none of it's good, right? Like, and so they've really struggled with that perception of their work, right? And I kind of get it. Like, I'll go over there and I'll watch stuff every now and then, but like, they're very low on my streamer list, right? And so if Matthew Mercer's Legends of Vox Machina, he can simultaneously move the ball forward for Critical Role, move the ball forward for Dungeons and Dragons, and move the ball forward for a major streamer. And I'll tell you right now, there is no one attached to Dungeons and Dragons that has that much riding on their success. Nobody matters in Dungeons and Dragons right now more than Matthew Mercer. It's incredible that he put himself here, right? So let's talk about Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan just got into a little bit of trouble, right? And so basically, a while ago, he went over to Spotify. He was paid over $200 million to go to Spotify, right? So major get for Spotify. Spotify was thrilled to have him, and well, they should be, right? So first of all, let's talk about my relationship with Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan's stuff. I think, honestly, I think his dedication to long form journalism, his genuineness, his genuine love for his audience, his respect for his audience, and the fact that, unlike many mainstream media sources who absolutely have the worst possible relationship and opinion, in my opinion, of their audience, he has a genuine love for his audience, and he treats them with respect in every show. And I'm actually, I would say right now, I think Joe Rogan has done more to progress media news than any journalist alive, right? And that the vast majority of mainstream journalists have done much in this lifetime to regress journalism, setting it back decades in quality and respect, all those kind of things. And I think Joe Rogan is really spectacular. Right, so he got in some trouble because he goes on Spotify, and then he gives his opinion on the March 2020 issue, right? And he has specific guests on the March 2020 issue. And so he's on Spotify. Neil Young is on Spotify. Joni Mitchell's on Spotify. And they're these artists who have their art up on Spotify, and they said, listen, we think he's giving misinformation. And so we're going to use our art to suppress his speech. So listen, you have a choice, Spotify. You can have Neil Young's music, or you can have Joe Rogan. It took Spotify 3 seconds to make a decision. They're like, bye Neil Young, bye Joni Mitchell, thank you very much, but we know who's going to move this platform forward, right? Like, and so, but then it came back to Joe Rogan, right? Because Spotify's stock was starting to go down, right? And so he stepped in, and because he's super engaged and he's running his own business and he's super independent, right? He came out and he said, you know what? I started this podcast as just doing this with my friends, but I have become huge. right? And that means I have a higher responsibility to do it right. And so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust who I have on as guests. So if I have guests who have controversial views, then I'm going to try to have guests on who have very traditional mainstream views, right? To counterbalance it. And he said, I'm going to adjust it because this used to be something I do with my friends. Now I have a responsibility to do it right, right? Let's talk about that in context of Matthew Mercer. Matthew Mercer has the same model, right? Critical Role, it came from a Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition, okay? The first Critical Role, it started as a birthday party for Travis Willingham, and they did not use Pathfinder. They used Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition. Then they went to Pathfinder, then they went to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So, and you'll find that on Wikipedia. And so from what I've been able to tell, it started with Dungeons & Dragons 4th, went for a very brief period to Pathfinder, and then graduated to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, right? So, but Matthew Mercer, this is something he did with his friends. Now it has become a massive success with global reach, quite literally global reach, right? I think Matthew Mercer is exactly like Joe Rogan. He has a responsibility a higher responsibility to do it right. There's no more time for Sam Riegel's nonsense. There's no more time for Taliesin Jaffe's holding on to a character that doesn't exist within the 5e Player's Handbook. And like, so what is doing it right? Right? What is Critical Role doing it right? One, this will be brutally difficult, right? And I think it's going to be brutally difficult for Joe Rogan to do it. He doesn't want to have on these he doesn't want to have on these bog standard scientists who are just going to spout a bunch of stuff that you already have heard, right? He does not want to do that, and it's going to be brutally difficult to make them relevant or interesting in any way, right? But he's like, I'm going to do it. I have a higher responsibility. This isn't just me and my friends anymore. I have a higher responsibility to do it right. What is Critical Role doing it right? Right? Well, for one, they need to go to 4 players. Legit, right? They have so much, they have so much going on with each character that there's always this question of, should there be 4 or 5 people at the table for Dungeons & Dragons? But there ain't no question. There should not be 7 or 8 players at a Dungeons & Dragons player, at a Dungeons & Dragons game. That means if you have 7 or 8 players at your Dungeons & Dragons game, it means one of 2 things, in my humble opinion. It means you're a bad dungeon master. That is absolutely not the case with Matthew Mercer. That is not the reason. Or you don't know how to manage your friend relationships. And I think that's absolutely true. I think the reason why my take on Matthew Mercer is he is horribly put upon by every single person in, actually specifically Sam Riegel and Taliesin Jaffe. I think I'll convert it down to them, right? First of all, he is setting up for the party. He is hosting the party, and he is cleaning up for the party. He's not getting help, right? And those two, and so he absolutely need. And so I think what I would do is I would nix. He can't nix Marissa Ray at this point, because she's like, he mixed business and pleasure, and now it's business and family, right? Like, Marissa Ray is literally his wife, so he can't nix her, right? Honestly, I would get rid of Ashley Johnson. Not because I want to see her gone, but they need to go down to 4. That would be doing it right, and giving a chance to see actual Dungeons & Dragons. Getting rid of Sam Riegel would be a fantastic idea, because you would tell people, hey, Dungeons & Dragons isn't a bunch of dirty jokes. It's actually a real thing. It's really important. Really serious people play it. And I don't think anybody can see that with Sam Riegel just shouting to the sky, Dungeons & Dragons is DNF jokes, right? Like, it's like it seems to be the only thing he's doing. It seems to be the only thing he's doing, right? So, and in addition to that, Taliesin Jaffe, just completely superfluous. I think he has the lowest connection to the actual Dungeons & Dragons game, and the lowest care about what Dungeons & Dragons is and actually looks like, right? And so it would be brutally difficult, but I really think Mercer should be like, okay, maybe at the end of this season, we go down to 4 real players. we really kick us into overdrive. We make this family friendly, and we think, and we talk, and we get to a point where, like, the next Dungeons and Dragons show is Dungeons and Dragons Exandria, right? Which has the official Critical Role title on it, official Critical Role location on it, and the red ampersand, and that's the next television show. Or it's also another movie, right? Like saying, hey, we have a multiverse. So yes, we already launched this, thing with Hugh Grant and with Chris Pine and with Michelle Rodriguez, but we have this other one. It's called Dungeons and Dragons Exandria, Dungeons and Dragons Exandria Obsidian, right? And it's a brand new movie series, and you're gonna love it, right? And creates 100,000 jobs overnight, right? Like, that's where we need to go, right? Mercer is the future of Dungeons and Dragons as we look at it right now, right? He's just done more. He's done more than anyone, right? When we talk about Dungeons and Dragons, like the current situation, nobody's going to move it forward more than him, right? So I really feel like that's the right way to move forward, and accepting the higher responsibility to do it right. All that's my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.